Today, I shall be taking up the module on drawing and description of bones of lower limbs. So, bones of lower limbs, particularly the long bones, include femur, the thigh bone. See, this is femur, the thigh bone, and two other bones of lower leg, that is tibia and fibula. So, femur, tibia and fibula. These are the three bones which we have to draw and describe. So, first of all, before starting drawing, let us try to understand or see what are the basic requirements for drawing bones. So, as you know, you will definitely require a pencil, a rubber for erasing, then a drawing sheet and a ruler. So, first of all, you take a drawing sheet of appropriate size which will exactly match the size of the notebook. After taking the drawing sheet, what you have to do is draw a border line with a fine, well-sharpened pencil. Then thereafter, just below the border line, on the top right hand corner, write down the date. Then in the middle, below the border line, you write down the name of the bone which is to be drawn by you. Then you have to virtually divide the page into different sections where you have to draw the different views of the bone. Say, as for example, if you want to draw 4 views of the bone, say anterior view, posterior view, lateral view, medial view, then you have to divide the page virtually into 4 longitudinal areas. Then you have to start drawing. So, the drawing should be a freehand drawing. However, when I say freehand drawing, the drawing should be proportionate to the size of the bone. It should not be over large or too large, which doesn't correspond to the size of the bone, or too lengthy, again, which doesn't correspond to the length of the bone. And wherever necessary, you can make slight shading, because slight shading may be required to represent certain anatomical features of the bone. Then after shading, below each of the drawing, you have to write down the view that you have drawn. Say, as for example, anterior view, if it represents anterior view. Likewise, lateral view, medial view, like that. And at the left hand bottom corner, just above the border line, you have to keep a space for teacher's signature and teacher's remark. So, this is the fundamental and the basic thing you have to keep in your mind for drawing a bone on your drawing sheet or on the page of your notebook. Well, after completion of drawing, you should not forget to label each and every important features of the bone. So, while labeling, you should keep in your mind that you should use dotted line, not a solid line, because solid line may often be confused as a part of the bone. So, in most of the drawing, we find solid line, but that is not a proper system. All these three bones, femur, tibia and fibula, they are all endoskeleton bones because they are found underneath the tissue, that means under the skin, not open outside. So they are endoskeleton. Now again, all the three belong to appendicular skeleton because all these three are the bones of lower limbs. So limb bones are called appendicular bones. And again at the same time, all the three bones, you see, femur, see, tibia, this is tibia, then this is fibula. These three bones are all having two ends, that means two extremity, upper end and lower end, and a shaft which connects the upper end and lower end. So all these three, they can be categorized, or they are categorized as long bones. So for individual description, let us start with femur. So femur, commonly we call it thigh bone. In fact, femur is the longest and strongest bone of human body. This upper part or upper extremity consists of a head which is somewhat spherical but not perfectly spherical as a ball. This is the head of femur bone, and this articulates with the acetabulum of pelvis. Just below the head there is a constriction, and this part we call it neck, and just opposite to the head and in continuation to the neck there is a projection or an elevation which is quadrangular in shaft, which lie laterally, head lie medially, and this projection elevation lie laterally. This quadrangular elevation is called greater trochanter. And below the neck there is again another projection or elevation which is called lesser trochanter. Little bit below the middle of the head there is a depression, and this is called as fovea. This is meant for attachment of ligaments so that it doesn't slip out from the acetabulum. Now you see, this is greater trochanter, this is lesser trochanter. So there is a ridge connecting greater trochanter and lesser trochanter. This is called intertrochanteric crest. So intertrochanteric crest is on the posterior side. Come to the anterior view, anterior side. Again, this is the greater trochanter, this is the lesser trochanter. So there is again another ridge running slightly obliquely. This is called intertrochanteric line on the anteromedial side. So this is a brief description of upper part or upper extremity or upper epiphysis of femur bone. Now let us come to the shaft or diaphysis. The shaft is somewhat cylindrical in circumference. Now As it gradually goes down, it becomes prismatic. The shaft is cylindrical in the upper part and prismatic in the lower part. See, prismatic in the lower part. Now, the shaft has 3 borders. One is here, this is posterior border. See the eminence, posterior border. See, it starts from here, or you see in the middle part, this crest or this ridge is very prominent. This border is very prominent, I mean. Then just below the middle part, it makes a ellipse. That means there is bifurcates. One going towards the lateral condyle, another going towards the medial condyle. And it forms a flat triangular surface. And this triangular surface is called Poplitial surface. Well, and this ridge is called linea aspera, one of the very prominent character of femur. And it is said that because of the presence of this linea aspera, human being can stand perfectly erect and walk bipedally. That means human beings have orthograde posture because of this presence of this linea aspera. Well, this is the posterior border. Then we have another border on the medial side. This is medial border. And another border on the lateral side. This is lateral border. So we have 3 border: lateral border, medial border, and posterior border. So then accordingly we have 3 surfaces. One anterior surface, this whole anterior surface. This is lateral surface, this lateral surface. Then this medial surface. So medial surface, lateral surface, anterior surface. So this is a very brief description of the shaft. Now let us come to the lower end. The lower end is broad and it is antero-posteriorly flattened. It has got 2 condyles. One condyle here, this is one condyle, this is called medial condyle. And the other condyle which is lateral, this is called lateral condyle. So medial condyle facing towards the body on the line with the head, and lateral condyle on the line with the greater trochanter. So in between the 2 condyle we have an articular surface which articulates with patella or kneecap. See, so this surface is called patellar surface. One eminence is there on the medial side in the condyle itself. This is called medial epicondyle. Similarly, on the lateral side of the lateral condyle, there is another small projection or eminence. This is called lateral epicondyle. So, in between the 2 condyles, on the back side, on the posterior side, there is a notch. This is a notch. So, this notch is in between 2 condyles. So, we call it intercondylar notch. This is on the back side. So, on the front side or anterior side, there is patellar surface, and on the back side intercondylar knots. So this is the description of lower extremity. Now let us come to the identification of the site. That means the given femur bones belongs to which side of the body. All of you know that for identification of site, we have to take into consideration of 3 points. Up, down, 1 point. Lateral, medial, another point. Front, back, the 3rd point. So, keeping this in mind, let me start with the head should point upward. The head, or means the upper extremity, the upper end should lie superiorly. So, upper end superior, lower end inferior. This is first point. Then the head of the femur should face medially. So this is right femur. Similarly, again we can do the same thing. Here upper extremity is up. At the same time, this head is facing medially. Here again we can fit on the left. So a femur cannot be fitted both on the left as well as right. It has to be one. So now we have pointed out 2 points. One up, okay. One medially, okay. But now the point left is which surface should be in front, which surface should be on the back side. Only then, if you know that 3rd point, you can exactly locate. Now see this. If you see from this side, this is having convexity. From this side, it is having concavity. The concavity should be on the back side. It should be posterior in position, and this convexity should be forward in position. That means when anatomically oriented, this should be in front, this should be on the back side. So we can keep it like this. So when you consider these 3 points and orient the skull in its anatomical position, you can very easily identify the side of the body to which the femur belongs to. So now let us take up tibia bone. Tibia bone is the larger bone of the 2 lower leg bones. That means there are 2 bones in the lower leg. One is tibia and another is fibula. So tibia is larger than fibula, and tibia lies inner to fibula. That means fibula is outer bone and tibia is inner bone of lower leg. Like other long bones, tibia has 2 epiphyses. That means 2 ends or 2 extremities, upper extremity and lower extremity, and a diaphysis or a shaft. Let us see the characteristics or the features of upper extremity or upper end. Upper extremity has 2 expanded tuberosities. So you see, this is one tuberosity this side, another tuberosity this side. So it has 2 expanded tuberosity. This is medial tuberosity and this is lateral tuberosity. So it has 2 extremities. Above these 2 extremities, that means superiorly, it has 2 articular surface for articulation with the condyles of femur. See, this is a femur. So for articulation with these condyles of femur, we have 2 articulatory surfaces. one for articulation with the medial condyle, another for articulation with the lateral condyle of femur. These two articular surfaces are separated by an eminence called spinous process. Posteriorly, these two tuberosities are separated by a poplitial notch. This is a notch. So this is one tuberosity, the lateral tuberosity. This is the lateral tuberosity. This is medial tuberosity. In between these two, on the posterior side, there is poplitial notch. This poplitial notch separate the two tuberosity. But whereas on the front side, on the anterior side, these two tuberosities are not separated but are continuous and forms a flat projection. This is called tubercle. So this is the tubercle. So now this constitutes the head of tibia. Now let us start with the shaft. The shaft is prismoid and triangular above and gradually decrease till the most at the 1/4 from the lower end. So that means you divide the shaft into 4 sections and the lowest in cross section will be observed at the 1/4 from the lower end. Now when you see this shaft of the tibia bone, you can see a very distinct ridge anteriorly. This is the anterior border. We have another lateral border. Lateral border, see, this is the lateral border which starts from behind the medial tuberosity. It continues and goes to the back of medial malleolus. And another border is, it starts from the articular surface of the fibula, nearly from the articular surface of the fibula, and continues and goes up to the other side of medial malleolus. So there are 3 borders. So then there are again 3 surfaces. One is lateral surface, another is medial surface, and another is posterior surface. So 3 surfaces and 3 borders. Now let us come to the lower end. This is the lower end of tibia. So this projection which lie medially, this is called medial malleolus. So this lower part or lower end has 5 surfaces. This is anterior surface, medial surface, lateral surface, posterior surface, and inferior surface. So these are the 5 surfaces of lower end. So now this is how we describe tibia of man. Thereafter, now let us see how we can identify the site of tibia. That means whether the given tibia is a left tibia or right tibia. For that, come to the upper part of the bone. So being upper part, it should be superior in position, and lower part possessing this malleolus should be down. Upper part possessing tuberosity should be up, like this, maybe on the left, maybe on the right. So this malleolus should be medial. This should be medial. Again, you see, when you see from the profile, there is slight convexity on one side, on the anterior side rather. On the posterior side, there is concavity. So that the side having convexity, it should be anterior in position. Or for easy location, as I have told you, this tuberosity is continuous in anterior side and has a tubercle here. So the face having tubercle should be forward in position. You can just tell that this tibia belongs to the right. Now let me start with the fibula bone. Fibula is a long bone of lower leg. Like other long bones, it has two extremities, an upper extremity, a lower extremity, and a shaft or diaphysis. Let us see the characteristics of upper extremity. The upper extremity is expanded in all directions. So it is roughly quadrangular. Now, coming to the shaft, is more or less similar in size all along its length. It has got three borders. Here, this is the anterior border. Then this is the lateral border, and back side this is posterior border. And it has three surfaces: lateral surface, medial surface, and posterior surface. Now let us come down to the lower end. Lower end has a projection downward, and this is called malleolus. But this malleolus is lateral malleolus, whereas in tibia we have medial malleolus. So this malleolus is lateral malleolus, so it should be lateral in position. Now let us come to the identification part, identification of site. That means to which side of the body it belongs to. Now for that, you see, in the lower extremity, on the medial side there should be this facet or this articular surface. This articular surface should lie medially, and this malleolus should lie laterally. So this is lateral malleolus, and this crest, very sharp crest, it should be forward or anterior in position. Then this triangular articular surface medially, lateral malleolus towards the side of the body, that means lateral in position. Then upper end, which expands in all direction, should be upward. That means upper end is expanded in all direction and it should face upward. This is the lower end. This lower end, which is antero-posteriorly flattened. See, antero-posteriorly flattened. Compare this with the upper end. This is the upper end. This is the lower end. Should be downward. So keeping these 3-4 points and fitting it in anatomical position, we can very easily identify the site of the body to which the given fibula belongs to. So naturally, in this case, considering all those landmarks and the points, we can very easily identify that this is right fibula of man. So, while concluding, we can say that by learning how to draw and describe human bones, we can know the anatomical position of various bones in our limbs. And at the same time, we can go for a comparative anatomy of human limb bones with the limb bones of other primates, our distant relatives, and other hominid and hominoid fossils. And as such, from such a comparative study of the structure and anatomical position of limb bones, we can go for evolutionary approach of studying the gradual changes or changes that have taken place in the skeleton system of human body.